guys, welcome back to our channel, A Little Bit Hippie. As you've noticed, we've taken a little bit of a different approach now with the videos. From feedback that I've received, this whole vlogging thing, I think that's what you call it. I'm not very technologically savvy, so, you know, people seem to enjoy that a lot more than just the regular garden tours. I'm still going to incorporate the garden tours, but just done a little bit differently. If you have any other feedback though, please send it to me. I love hearing from you and I love all the ideas. So by all means, if you don't like something too, you just let me know. Anyway, so I thought I'd start off today with a bit of a Q&A type thing. I've had a couple of people, my gorgeous friend TJ and my daughter Grace, who has just gotten into gardening. I've had them ask me how to transplant seedlings. So what I'm going to do is take you through the steps of how I do it, from separating them out to putting them into the garden. So bear with me and we'll get that on the go so you can see my methods. I mean, this is not set in concrete. This is just how I do things, okay? So come along and enjoy. Okay, I hope you can see everything. All right, we've got a really windy day here today, and in the hothouse, it's kind of blowing everything around. So hopefully you can see everything properly. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. First things first, let's sift out some soil. Now I buy cheap potting mix. Now this has been in one of my previous videos. I buy one of the cheapest potting mixes I can get, and I will sift out all the chunky bits. Save all the chunky bits, they go in the compost. Right, to the sifted soil, as you can see, it's like really lovely and fine. So this, I use this for my seeds as well. I find that the germination rate's a lot better with a finer soil. I add 1 handful of blood and bone. That's it. Any more, I feel you could probably burn your seedlings. Give that a good mix. Now, today, we're going to be separating out these little Garden Delight cherry tomatoes. As you can see, the germination rate wasn't great because this was that crappy soil. Remember me telling you about that? So these littler ones here, they're going to be no good. But these bigger ones here, I want to hang on to them. So I'm going to put 1 plant to 1 pot. So I recycle as much as I possibly can, but these pots, I got some natives in, and they're the perfect size. So I'm going to be reusing them. So now I don't want any of this crappy soil to fall into here. So what I will do, if you can see, hope you can, I'm going to just take a old plant label and I'm going to dig out the individual plants. So I got 2 here. Don't be scared to just tear them apart. They're pretty hardy. All right, make a hole in the center. Pop your seedling in. Now, one thing that's really important with tomatoes, people will only put them in as far as where the soil was previously, right? I actually go up a little bit higher because the stem on the tomatoes, this will produce more roots, resulting in a more stable plant. So I'm actually going to bury him to just below this first set of leaves. Can you hear the mozzies in here? Spring's definitely here. There we go, guys. So that is one separated out little tomato plant. Don't be scared, as I said, to plant them a bit deeper. Tomatoes will produce extra roots along that stem, resulting in a sturdier plant. So I'm just going to do the other ones now while I get bitten by mosquitoes. Right, now they're done, I'm going to just pop them in a little tray, just so they don't fall over on me. And I'll reuse an old plant label. And they were tomato, Garden Delight. Now I transplanted these on the 26th of the 9th. Geez, this year's gone quick. And I'm just going to write on here ×4 because I've got 4 of them. Save using a heap of tags. And that way I know what they are. Make sure you can water with a watering can. These guys are big enough to water with a watering can. Make sure you water them in really, really well. Righto, good to go. So these will probably stay in the hothouse for, I reckon, at least another 2 weeks before I then plant them out. Next job on the list today is I've got these 2 sweet dumpling squashes. They're the only 2 that germinated, but I'm actually going to pop them in the ground now. I know this one's a little bit small, but I've mulched really well. So the next step in transplanting seedlings, come with me when I put these 2 in the garden and I'll show you how I do it. So welcome to windy Wedderburn. Now the sweet dumpling squash, I was a bit upset because I only got 2 out of them, so the germination rate was really terrible. But again, I used that crappy soil. So note, no more crappy soil. So what we're going to do is transplant these in with the other squash. Hang on one second. As you can see, we've got other squash in here. These are your regular yellow squash. So first things first, get your hole happening. I'm gonna put both in here. Rightio. Taking your seedlings out. Now be super careful, you don't want to disturb too much of those roots. So I push up from the bottom, grab the whole chunky little thing out, right? And straight into the hole. Now this is the same sort of soil, so I'm not worried about put in anything extra in. Again, push from the bottom. You want to get as much of that root system. Can you see all the little roots on there? You want to get as much of that as possible. You don't want to break it off and leave it in that punnet. Into your hole. Now I don't tease out the roots. So many people say, oh, you have to tease out the roots. I don't, I never have. So I literally make the hole just slightly bigger than what this mass is. Pop it in. Make sure you press it down so it's secure. And label. I'll put that in the middle of those two. I need to add some extra mulch onto this bed, which I will do this afternoon, I think. And weed. Anyway, that's it. Don't make it too fancy or else you're going to stress out your little seedling. I will then now water that in with a sea salt solution, but I'm actually going to feed the entire veggie patch. So, moral of the story, make sure he's got wet feet to go in. Which my soil here is really damp. I gave everything a thorough water yesterday, so my soil is really good at the moment. You can see how it's sort of clumping together nicely. So it's wet enough, but I will give it a hit of sea salt a bit later on. Anyway, that's it. Don't go too fancy. Don't go worrying and stressing about things, or else you're going to just overlove it and kill it. So treat them mean, keep them keen. Is that the saying? I don't know. But anyway, that's it, guys. Hope that was some sort of help. If not, message me and I'll fill you in on anything you need to know. Another question I got asked by another subscriber was how closely or how far apart should I plant my seedlings? Well, you know how like on the back of the packets or on your seedlings, the tag, it'll say plant 30 centimeters apart or plant 50 centimeters apart. I don't do that. I don't do it at all. I never have. So I actually plant my seedlings quite close, right? I'm talking, depending on the size of the eventual plant, obviously. I mean, if it's going to be a large plant, you're going to need that extra space in between. If they're not, I plant them reasonably close together. Now, since doing that, now I've done that for many years now, I have less pest, less disease, and they tend to support each other, if you know what I mean. They're not flopping around. So look, everyone has their own views on that, and that's fine, but I'm just going to show you a couple of examples here, okay? So these are the kohlrabi that I planted out a couple of weeks ago. Now, as you can see, I don't plant them too far apart. Now, the method behind this is, as they grow up, they rest against each other, and it almost causes a bit of a windbreak. I find it really effective. And while we're here, I'll just show you. These are going really, really well. Can you see the base of that? They're starting to develop and they're looking amazing. So I don't know, look, to each their own. I mean, it's up to you, but I've always planted them closer together, and I've had, as I said to you, less pest, less disease. So, and I find too that it helps to retain moisture in the soil. So they're not so far apart, which means the wind can't get in as much, which means it doesn't dry the soil out as much. So anyway, something to consider anyway. I've got to show you something else because everyone's been laughing at me and saying, "Weed your garden, Amy." So I was feeding the horses oats. I know, stupid. Anyway, the result is oats growing everywhere. But so I planted capsicums in here, right? And the slugs and snails were, I'm talking, demolishing them. It was overnight. They were just trashing them. And anyway, this oat grass started to grow, and I'm like, oh, here we go. It's going to destroy everything, you know, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, let's show you. Now, I've deliberately left this grass, right? And look at the capsicum in there. Can you see him? Well, you probably can't see it very well. Look how healthy he is, because the slugs and snails aren't getting to them. So I'm leaving this grass. Look, there's another one over here. You can just make him out. I'm leaving this grass. The capsicums can go do their thing. And then when it's finished, I'm going to dig all this grass in and I have green manure. Yes, it'll probably grow back. Yes, I'll probably get more weeds, but you know what? I don't care. The soil under there is amazing and my capsicums are protected. So, so weed your garden, Amy? Yeah, nah, not going to happen. Hey, another thing while we're here too. So my corn, right? Now this corn, the really beautifully establishing corn, is the golden bantam seeds that I got from Happy Valley Seeds. Then let's go for a walk up here. From here was store-bought seedlings. Now, yes, there's a couple that have survived, but they're looking pretty manky. So, do you remember me a while ago saying to you that I leave my hothouse open on days that it's relatively warm, but you know, if it's a bit cooler than what you would normally open your hothouse at? I do this deliberately to weather my plants. They get used to the cooler weather before it gets hot, you know, and then they get used to the hot weather. And they get conditioned for this area. I didn't do that with these, and this is the result. Whereas I did do it with the golden bantams. So it just goes to show, unfortunately, when seedlings from a store are bought in mass, and I'm not saying don't buy your seedlings from a store, geez, by all means buy them from a store. But what I am saying is get those seedlings and put them on a windowsill or alike, and then take them out during the day. It sounds silly. Take them out during the day, put them on a table outside somewhere where they're going to get the weather, right? Bring them back in at night. Keep doing that for about, say 4 to 5 days. Then leave them out overnight as well. Do that for another 4 to 5 days. Right? It's basically how long I do mine in the hothouse and out of the hothouse. Then put them in the garden. Get them ready for your area first before you even put them in the soil. It's just a really good tip for people who go, oh my God, I put them in and they died. Did you weather your plants first? Spuds have gone berserk. Like, I'm talking berserk. We're going to be feeding half of the town, and that's fine. So while I'm here, I'll show you what we've done. We were running out of room in our enormous patch, and I had a heap of beans to plant out. So Mark put up some wire for me at the back, and I have planted bean seedlings, along with weeds clearly, along this back fence. So we might as well utilize the space we have. So the ones on that back fence there are the Scarlet Emperor beans. Then I've got next lot along here are Coles dwarf beans. Then at the end, because I've got all this little open space here, I've planted a small sugar pumpkin there and there. Then on the ends of the beds, I've planted some squash. These are your regular yellow squash, and they are looking a little yellow at the moment because we had a bloody frost and I thought they were done. Well, they weren't. Anyway, so I've got purple king beans right the way along that back fence there as well. Then eventually, hi girls, over this side, on the end of this shed, on this side of the fence, I'm going to plant 1, 2 passion fruit vines. Theory is they can grow up along this fence for the chooks and give the girls a bit of shade. Now, another thing I've been asked by quite a few people actually is how often do I water the seedlings in my hothouse? Well, the simple answer to that is when they look dry. I know that sounds silly, but when they look dry. So, as you can see here, these look quite damp, and that's perfect. Whereas you look over here, that is clearly dry, right? Which is funny because the back section of it is actually damp. But anyway, so I would just get my spritzer squirty bottle and do at least these front ones and see how that one is dry, but these ones are damp. Now, if I was to water all of that, these would be too wet. And as a result, you'd end up rotting your seedlings. So only water the sections that look dry. The other method too is, I can do it in this one, is stick your finger in. Does that feel damp? Yep. Don't water. Stick your finger in. Does that feel damp? Nope. Water. Hope that answers your question anyway. Again, another question I had on watering was, what time of day should I water my veggies? There is a lot of controversy over this. Some people say, don't put your plants to bed with wet feet, right? It encourages the snails, the slugs, blah, blah, blah. Some say, don't water the garden in the morning, particularly in hot weather. So, dilemma, when do you water your garden? I say water it when you have time. So I try, especially in the hot weather, okay, let's talk hot weather. Hot weather, I'm going to be watering my plants morning and night, regardless. And another thing that someone said was, don't water your vegetables from on top, right, above. Have a think about that for 1 second. In which direction does the rain come from? And you're telling me not to water from above. Okay, I get the theory of don't leave water sitting on the plant's leaves, particularly during the heat, because it can actually make the water get hot and then it'll burn the leaf, right? I get that, I understand that. So I would then water first thing in the morning before the heat. So I'm an early bird as a rule. I would water first thing in the morning before the heat of the day, and that means that any water, residual water on the leaves, it would have dried. Then the evening, I will, as soon as it starts to cool down, so here in the summer, you're sort of looking at about 6 o'clock, thereabouts, maybe a little bit later. With daylight savings, I don't mind if I don't do it until a bit later. Anyway, I will then water again in the evenings, say after I've had tea. Now, yes, having damp soil, it can encourage the slugs and the snails and the like, but my theory is if I don't water, the plants are going to die anyway. So I might as well water in the evening as well, so that I know they're going to sleep well and have, not dry out. And I may risk some snails and slugs. I think I'll risk that in order to keep my plants hydrated. So I hope that didn't confuse you too much, but basically water when you have time. The only thing I would suggest is during the heat of summer, is particularly if you live in an area like here, we can have days between 40 and 45 degrees, okay? We don't get a lot of them. Consistently, it's say between 35 and 40. I'm going to water morning and night regardless, but I would just say do not water during the heat of the day. You are asking for trouble. You are asking to burn your plants. So don't water during the day when it's hot. In the winter, look, we don't have a mass rainfall around here, so I, during the winter, still had to water probably twice a week. And I say, water any time of day. It's not going to matter. Water any time of day. Whenever you got time, just water. And springtime's the same. Our spring doesn't get overly hot, so you know the gardens look dry, water them. Anyway, I hope that answered your questions. And look, if there's anything you want me to clarify, just let me know, and I'll get in touch. How cute is this? I came home after being out most of the day yesterday to a new bird bath. I was a bit excited because I said to Mark, oh, we need to get a bird bath because Mama Maggie up there and the babies, and we've got a lot of wildlife around here, in particular bird life. So I just wanted to have a bird bath for the kids. Isn't it the cutest thing ever? I haven't actually seen any birds use it yet, but I love it. So we're thinking we might develop a garden bed. We might move it and develop a garden bed somewhere just to have something pretty around the base. Thought I'd give you a quick update on the patch over here. Our cauliflowers are coming on beautifully. This one I think might be going to seed though. And to top it off, we have peas. Do you know what? These are seriously the yummiest peas. They just sugar snap. Oh, I think if you're going to grow peas, you've got to grow sugar snap. Oh, the snow peas have come on as well. Yum. The beetroot in the interim patch have really kicked on too. If you have a look, we actually have beetroots growing. Now, one thing you have got to try in your lifetime if you're growing beetroot is the greens themselves. They are absolutely beautiful. They are very similar to a spinach. They're absolutely divine. So if you find you've got a lot of growth on top, by all means chop some of that off, steam it up. It's divine. Hey, check out this little spider. Can you see it? He's got himself a fly. He's happy. Now, one final question that I received was what and when do I feed my gardens? I don't really have a routine, but I use sea salt as a treatment. Now, one thing you need to know, sea salt is a tonic. It's not a feed. Don't get me wrong, it is wonderful stuff. Like, honestly, it's brilliant stuff. So make sure it's in your arsenal. But if you use sea salt every time you feed, you're going to end up with all leaf, no root. You just won't be producing. So, you know, it's good for sick plants. If you've had a frost, if you've had over, you know, say 35-degree day, and you think they're suffering a bit, it's brilliant for that. Highly recommend it, but it's not a feed. I use Power Feed. It's in a red bottle, tomato and vegetables. I'm pretty sure it's the same makers as sea salt. It's just really good stuff. Oh, here you go. Really good stuff. So it's an all-rounder as well. Now, what I tend to do is I don't go by the recommendation on the back here. I tend to do a half feed every week. So I'm pretty sure you're meant to do it every 2 weeks, you know, one big feed every 2 weeks. Oops, I put that down. But I don't. I do a half feed every week. Then, when I know we're due for some decent rain, I will actually run around with my bucket of blood and bone and just do a fine sprinkle over absolutely everything. Do not overdo your blood and bone. You will end up burning the hell out of your plants. So don't do it. But that's what I do anyway. And then, as I said, sea salt if you've got plants that need a bit of a kick along, they're sick. Sea salt's also very good for leaf curl and alike in fruit trees. Spray it all over the fruit trees and it will help with leaf curl and alike. There you have it. That's what I do. It's pretty simple. There's no real routine to it per se, but you know, everything looks healthy, so they're obviously liking what I'm doing. But if there's anything I can recommend for you in your arsenal, sea salt, power feed, blood and bone, hands down, it's all you need. Well guys, that's it for this episode. It did run longer than I thought, so I do apologise. I tend to waffle a bit. I hope I got all those questions answered. If not, if you need more clarification, just yell out and message me or leave a comment down the bottom. I'm happy to answer any questions. I do have more questions to get through, but they're not necessarily garden related, so we will get to them in future episodes. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any feedback at all, please let me know. Comment down the bottom, jump on the Facebook page, whatever you're comfortable with. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any episodes, and give us a thumbs up. I really love hearing from everybody, so please don't be afraid, give me a message. I love it. Anyway, until next time guys, live life to the fullest, love beyond words, and laugh like no one can hear you. Bye.